it's not entertaining. It's educating yourself like you were at school, like learning and powering through some concepts that are not even pertaining to you or that you hardly understand because it's not your
area of knowledge.
Of expertise.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of waddling through a lot of information. And also, remember we talked about last week, context. They give you the context of things in those things. And giving something context takes time. You have to explain the history of it, where it came from, right? Like if you really want to explain something, you're going to go through like the history of it, how it came to be, and it's boring. Like for most people, it's really boring. I'm going to admit to it. Like sometimes it's really boring to say some of those things. It's important because you need the context. But if you have some guy like shouting it like it's WWE, you're going to be like, yeah. And it is. Like you look at Rachel Maddow, she goes for the jugular sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying she's giving misinformation, but she does it in an entertaining way with her opinions at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So that's where, and then you got, Bill O'Reilly or whatever, or
Tucker Carlson,
right? And they're fire and brimstone, and getting your blood boiling about all the things that you're afraid of or scared of, and
sure, they want your attention,
right.
And if they were to attack your sense of happiness, what do you care? But if they go for your fears, all of a sudden they get your attention.
Right.
I mean, this
or
is
they make your fears.
How many times have you heard? Is your restaurant dirty? News at 11.
Right.
Well,
are there rats?
5 hours from now.
It's like, are there rats in your rat feces in your chocolate shake or whatever? Right. It just gets your attention, gets you going. And, oh my God,
Yeah.
And I mean, this is over and over. And I think that's a big piece. I mean, I even look at what's this girl, the young conservative
Tommy Lauren.
Tommy Lauren.
Wait. She's not journalist. I would hate to use her.
Did I say journalist?
I don't know where you're going with it, but I don't. To me, she's not even newsworthy.
I know that, and that's what I'm saying. What is and here's where it sounds like, okay, what is her opinion is being thrown at you in an aggressive manner, right? And using the news as a source, kind of like we're doing. We're not journalists.
Nope,
I'm just here talking, right? But this is where people are like, it's like saying like, this is where you're going to get your, don't get, I even say like, I don't have any facts for you. Like Scotty probably does some research, but I don't. I give you my opinion and it's to be taken lightly, right? Because I'm going to mess up and whatever. But she's on she's on there and they're giving her all this power and credit to say these things unapologetically, right?
Right.
And what does she know? Like,
what is her credibility to be up there?
Right. Like
she's good to look at, and she talks about the ideas that show wants to portray.
Right. She's the face of that mentality. She's just like the face that they want to be, like this. But she looks clean cut. She looks clean cut, like super. I have values and blah 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 blah. But I almost feel I think we talk about this like when she was on Trevor Noah.
No, I didn't know she was on Trevor Noah.
She was on Trevor Noah.
Anyway, also that's. The Daily Show is also not a good source for news.
Right.
It's comedy.
It's a comedy show,
right?
Where you can hear things and you should do your reresearch on, but it's not.
Right, so she was on.
She was on it, yeah. And he did an interview with her, and I felt I felt bad for her because in that you can see that she really believes a lot of the things that she says. A lot of them are contradicted. She was contradicting herself in her very own words. And she really, I think she really believes that she's doing a good. You know what I mean?
Right.
That she's standing up for
her
the little man. She's standing up for the little man in the Midwest, which is not the little man. That's the majority, right? Like of that area. Yeah. So, and I really think she believes in it. And then when they look at it, when she sees other people looking at her as this racist, bigoted person, I think she probably hates it.
I think it empowers her because she seems to thrive on it.
I don't know. If you see it, you'll see what I mean, because it's different to be in front of a camera than when you're around real people. I'm talking when you're like having a conversation like we are.
Yeah.
Like where she was having a conversation with Trevor Noah when he's just a person, right?
Yeah.
And she has to actually atone for the things that she says to a nice guy that's talking to her, you know? Even though they disagree highly,
Yeah.
she can no longer hide behind the anger and the things, because if she starts yelling and screaming at him, what's the she can't do what she does on the show
Right.
to another person, right?
Yeah.
Because he's not doing anything wrong to her,
Right.
right? So it no longer is that same dynamic, and I think that's what it is. It's like yelling into this echo chamber, and they're like going, yeah, yeah, yeah. Now sit you next to an immigrant, sit you next to someone that looks different than you, sit you next to like the person that you're calling all these things, right? You're gonna have to actually
have a conversation.
Real
conversation.
You might see that a lot of your fears and a lot of the things that you're saying are not unfounded, and the contradiction.
I don't know. I watched Bill O'Reilly and Jon Stewart have conversations, and they were civil conversations. And then he would go right back to his show, and that's his show, and that's his.
That's what I mean. I mean, in the scope of that,
yeah,
that conversation, I think they are. You'll see the grinding of the gears. If we take like some of the things that Rachel Maddow and I don't think they're at the same level, but they
I wrote down examples of Rachel Maddow and Sean Hannity, and it was just I watched they have their show, and I wanted to see, look, the news is facts, and anything after that, it's not news. So when a show like Rachel Maddow or Sean Hannity is talking to you and they tell you something that happened, that's a fact. But when they tell you how you should feel, that's the opinion. And Rachel Maddow, for example, and I'm watching her show, and this was before the new policy that was set by the Supreme Court. So she was talking about the Trump administration's political view about the immigration policy, and she was making this claim that obviously it's happening. That was the fact, that the administration was taking kids away from parents. That's the fact. And then she went on to say that the administration loves controversy, and that anyone that complains about the policy of taking kids from parents and exposing themselves is a wuss. So if you complain about it, you're a wuss. This is what she's saying. And
so that's her opinion.
Yeah, and then the Republicans want to be seen as unconscionably harsh, right?
That's
like this is their goal. And in order to prove her point, she mentions about a Washington Post guy. His name is Philip Rucker. And he's at the White House, and he sees the Republicans are delight over everything. Like, that's a fact. But how do you back up the fact? Well, she puts the guy on TV, but there's no audio. So, it's like, what did the guy hear? Like, what is he telling us? So it's not really, like, you're getting some facts, and it's making you angry about the Trump administration.
Right.
All right, now let me do Sean Hannity, just to be fair on both sides. So he is talking about why the left is lashing out with threats of violence. So, recently Maxine Waters, she came out and she told the Democrats to get in the conservatives' faces, and it was inappropriate, in my opinion. That's an opinion. So he was talking about how this is his opinion of what the left is saying, and that the left will never thought Donald Trump would win or be this successful, and that Trump is a threat to everything wrong with the left, right? And then he uses facts to back up why the left is now all about getting into violence, and why there's problems, why there was a shooting at the newspaper at the that place today. So, for example, he uses quotes from Madonna and how she said she wants to blow up the White House. Johnny Depp and how he wants to assassinate the president. Kathy Griffin's severed Donald Trump head,
right,
which was pretty artistically interesting. Robert De Niro and how he's fascinated with punching Donald Trump.
Right.
So you're using Hollywood stars as your example of the left.
Right.
So he's getting his base, though. He's getting them riled up. Like, oh, look at this left. They want to hurt conservatives. Right. And who wants to hurt them? I mean, you're going to use Kathy Griffin and Madonna as your examples. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. It's frustrating to see how easy they can, how we got here. I don't know. Like, I remember news back in the day, they weren't like this. Then I remember going to, like, when I was in Chile and also when I was in Trinidad at one time, like, listening to the news there about stuff that was happening and noticing, and it might change, it might have changed now, you know? But back then, it was, like, so different as to how facts were presented, how much respect was given, to make sure that you sound as objective as possible. That was if you didn't sound objective, you weren't
you weren't on there.
You would not. You would have been taken down. You're not a journalist, right?
Right.
So that's not the goal anymore. And
Well-
but whose fault is that? Like, whose fault is it?
Immediately came to my mind Will Ferrell's Ron Burgundy, the whatever continues, whatever that movie
Mhm.
is. I mean, that's what the movie deals with. The whole idea that they go into this 24-hour news and they just have to come up with something to
Right.
keep the
So
story going.
I think it's. I'm gonna blame us. I'm gonna blame.
We let it happen.
We let it happen, and you're allowing it to happen. You know what? We're always gonna have different points of views. And we're always gonna have like different ways of seeing things. Even when we look at something and we're trying to decide what's biased and unbiased, we have our own biases. So we're not the best litmus paper for that,
Yeah.
right? Like, what I think of doing is calling out the people that I think alike with. I can't attack another. Like, if I think alike with you, then we need to change what we're doing, right? That's why, like, last week I talked about, like, we need to change what we're doing. Like, I don't think we should have any more of these entertainers. News entertaining. Like, I don't think we should give them the.
It'll never go away because
I
not
think,
only do you have on the TV and people watch it and they're wildly popular and making a lot of money because that's really what it all comes down to, but you also have people that do radio shows like Rush Limbaugh, and you have other podcasts like Pod Save America, which is my favorite place to go to for news. Not news, but like if I want an opinion given to me, I'll go to Pod Save America because they do a great job of it.
Right. But I think when you go to those things, like remember I told you I used to listen to like that Citizen radio show and stuff like that. You go in there knowing that they have an opinion about it and it's not unbiased, it's what they think.
Yeah.
Right. But if you're looking for news, like you should be able to find unbiased news to a certain degree, but
go to AP and Reuters.
Right, AP and Reuters. But they're so boring. Scotty.
Well, I'll tell you what.
It's so boring, Scotty.
I know.
You have to do a lot of reading, a lot of listening.
If you take the media and you say, you know what, I'm not going to watch your show anymore if you continue to not tell the news. I don't want an opinion. All right. In the morning, you have like Morning Joe, and then you have on Fox News, they have Fox and Friends. And they tell you your opinion. That's not the news. Tell us the news. What's going on in the world, and that's it. So, all right, let's take a break, and when we come back, we're going to continue this conversation, and don't go anywhere. Rico and I are having a great time making this podcast,
and we want to keep doing this.
So please subscribe to our channel,
get the word out,
and let others know about us.
Now back to our show.
All right, welcome back. Let's get ready for some trivia time.
Let's do it.
Okay.
I researched thoroughly to make sure I got all these right.
All right, well, that's good. Actually, speaking of research, today's trivia comes from Pew Research. They did this research, and they wanted to show about people's perception of media. What do they think is a fact, and what do they think is an opinion?
Mm-hmm.
So they made these statements, and people had to determine, is it a fact or is it an opinion? And from there, they said, how many were Democrats, how many Republicans, how many independent, and also they asked them how much trust you have in national news. So the criteria was either a lot, some, or not much, or none at all. So I'm going to give you the statement. You tell me if it's a fact or an opinion, and then I'll kind of tell you, what other people have said.
Okay.
All right, and these are pretty easy. I went through it. I got them all right.
Okay.
But I just want to let's do it. All right. So number 1, is this a fact or an opinion? Oh, by the way, I should mention that you're not looking to say, is the statement true or not? You want to know, is the statement a fact or an opinion?
Okay.
All right. Number 1, healthcare costs per person in the U.S. are the highest in the developed world.
It is, I think, the way it sounds, it's like it's a fact.
Bing, bing, correct.
Okay.
All right, 76% of people who answered got it right. And as far as what they in the national news, like how they should trust, all those people who got it right, 83% of them trust the news a lot, 77 some, and 68 not at all or none. All right, number 2, democracy is the greatest form of government.
That is an opinion.
Correct. And 69% of people got it right.
All right.
It's pretty low.
Yeah.
Okay.
66%?
69%.
Oh, 69%. All right, go for it.
All right, number 3. President Barack Obama was born in the United States.
That is a fact, my friend.
Yes, it's both a fact that it's true and that that statement was written as a fact. 77%.